Welcome to the Mindfulness of Singing, and I'm Denise, your sassy, spunky scientist.
And I'm Toni, your bubbly, big-hearted flower child.
Our podcast features practical tips and tools for a journey of transformation using the healing power of your voice.
Each podcast, we will delve into the mind, body, and spirit connection by interviewing inspirational guests, sharing personal stories, and discussing the most recent scientific research.
Tune in and join our community of mindful singers.
Denise, how are you?
Good. Hot.
Yes, Denise, my daughter sent me a text, and it said suffering, and it showed in Canada it's 106 in Canada.
Ooh. Yeah, they're not used to that. Well, yeah, no, I my hair was down earlier and I could not. I just had to get it off my back of my neck. So last time I had to get it off the back of my neck, I had a haircut shorter than yours.
Mine's getting too long as it is, but I digress.
We digress. Yes. It's
Yes.
hot.
Let's talk about who's coming on today.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, well, we have none other than Brian Bradley, and he is the Vice President of Brand Development and Special Programs for Egoscue. Egoscue, I hope I'm saying Egoscue.
Egoscue.
Egoscue. Shoe or skew? Skew, I think.
Well, we'll have him cleared up because
Well,
I'm not an expert in it.
That, in fact, it said one of the hardest things about it is just pronouncing the man's name that created it. Egoscue is what I think, but we'll let him tell us the right way. Anyway, he's the vice president of the company, so he should know how to say it.
So are you saying that as if it were Italian, or are you saying that as if it were German?
I'm saying it as if I've heard it from him say it.
Okay.
Neither one. I didn't have what I've listened to him. I wrote it kind of phonetic. Egoscue. Anyway, he has presented for corporations, organizations, and nonprofits on the topic of chronic pain, healthy living, and high-level performance. In other words, he is a posture, pain, and performance coach. And the main thing is about another P, posture, for that technique. So I can't wait to hear him tell us how to say it and what it's all about. So let's bring him on.
Well, I mean, posture's everything.
It is indeed. It is indeed. And I'm curious. I had a great conversation yesterday with a fellow yoga teacher, and I want to ask him some things about some posture stuff. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Me too.
Well, hi, Brian. Welcome to the Mindfulness of Singing. And we're so glad to have you on our podcast. And I'm sure people are wondering, first of all, how we say the name of your method. So give us some education, because Toni and I had a little girl spat over how you say it.
Well, did either one of you win, or was it? I'll let you know here in a second. Here we go. It's Egoscue.
Okay. Yeah, no, neither one of us. Toni was closest, I will say.
Well, if this were horseshoe, she'd get points, but it's not. So it's a, you're not going to get tested on the pronunciation nor the spelling. It's a gentleman's last name, Pete Egoscue. It's Basque. I think when his great-grandfather came to the U.S., it was with a Z instead of the S. So something like that. But it's, you know what happens when they get to New York, they change it to a more American spelling and take away the European stuff back in the day.
Right.
So what do you want to talk about today?
Well, Toni is usually the one who has lots and lots of questions. So we'll let her ask questions. And then it's my job to interject with smart ass remarks. So
we have those roles down pretty well.
I think Denise and you and I are probably kindred spirits with the word smartass in there. So this is good.
Well, more importantly than how you say the name, I want to know how you came to be involved with the method. What was your journey to the Egoscue method?
You don't want to hear 30 years of that. So I'll break it down to
the Reader's Digest.
Absolutely. And for those of you who don't know what Reader's Digest is, we'll go back and we'll have an explanation of what that is. Because if you didn't grow up in the 70s and partially the 80s, you have no clue. Okay.
I did date myself, didn't I?
Well, you did. It was kind of like the Carol Burnett show. I mean, that's like, you know what I mean? Like we all grew up with that. What an amazing show, by the way. Okay, so those of us above 30 years old in this room, including myself by 23 years. So I've been doing Egoscue for 30 years, ran into Pete Egoscue in 1991 when I was in Florida, and he had just opened up the satellite clinic for the origination of this original clinic in Del Mar, California at PGA National with Jack Nicklaus. And I knew just enough about golf to be dangerous and started reading up on this and ended up joining his crew there because he had a great insurance plan. And that's no lie. Like, that's why I took the job. I get dental and medical. What are you kidding? I can do this. And I was on my way back to physical therapy school. And then I ran into the actual method. Took about 90 days for it to sink into my thick head that cause versus symptom are two different things. When someone complains about a pain symptom, like we all do, emotional, mental, but in this case, physical, it's not a complaint. It's a reality to the person who's in pain. People who don't have chronic pain really can't, or limits in their movement really can't relate to this. But though for those of us who have had symptoms and of limitations in movement or just chronic pain symptoms, I can attest to that, having downhill mountain biked for many years, sponsored, all that stuff. And you hit a tree at 60 miles an hour, things are going to break. And then your body adapts and compensates after that. So I ran into Pete in 1991, and it's 30 years this year. The method is 50 years old this year. When he discovered it coming out of Vietnam and realized that the knee bone really is connected to the hip bone via the femur and the relationship with the fascia and all that stuff. But we'll go as deep into that as you want. And it's going to be a very good talk today.
So just you stumbled onto it sort of by accident or by serendipity or whatever you want to say it. So
look, the universe creates stuff for you. And if you're aware, you'll see it and hear it. And I'm not just, guys, you're talking to a guy who grew up on the East Coast. So I can sniff BS and all that hoopla out from anywhere. Okay. I needed to know that this stuff was real. Just don't tell me that I can live pain-free. Don't tell me that I can perform at the next highest level. Because there's a lot of people out there selling the snake oil and telling people what they can and can't do. The action is in the result, which, during this talk, if there's a chance I can get your listener, whether they're watching or just listening, they can go back and watch the video. We can get them up and doing things, or I'll give you an email and they can email me and we'll talk about it. But I will tell you, if you're actively listening and you're present in 90% of your life, things like this get presented and you see them, you hear them, and you can touch them. If you're not paying attention, you're just going through life and life's happening basically against you or to you, you're not going to be open to hear the stuff that's for you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We totally agree with that philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally believe that you're here today for me because in fact, I have a little story that most of our listeners now know. But anyway, 4 years ago, terrible, debilitating back pain.
Keep talking. I want to get let me get a violin out to give some dramatic music to this, but keep going.
Exactly. And when the surgeon said, I'm gonna open you up and fuse your spine, I said, no, sir, you're not. Anyway, and it wasn't long after that I saw something about your method, and I was like, boy, I would really like to figure that out and see if I could find somebody, but I can't find anybody in my area. So anyway, I became really intrigued about your and looked at a lot of your videos and stuff, and I'm a believer. I'm a complete believer. And as singers, of course, our people that are listening to this are going to be singers. Posture is everything. Posture is power to the voice. Posture is power to the breath. Posture is how you keep that jaw in alignment. And if you can't hit a high note, and you should be able to hit that high note, it's probably posture related in so many ways. So talk to us about that.
First of all, what part of Antarctica do you live in?
What do you mean?
Well, you don't have a practitioner of mine.
I live in the southwest corner of Virginia, in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains.
Yes, but you have electricity, so we have Zoom, so you have a therapist right in your house.
Oh, okay.
This is exactly how we would be able to do therapy. That was the benefit of COVID-19, that it introduced all my in-person customers to wow, I never thought you could see so much over digital. And when I show you some, it is amazing when you, again, just relax and quit searching for things, that you make the comparison to this posture and say, how does Denise look compared to this? Why is she having trouble hitting that octave? She was always able to. What's changed? Oh, she's 2 years older. Okay, well, if that were true, then my football players and baseball players that play for decades, they're 2 years older and sometimes they're getting better. So why not look at singing or voice work as a sport and train for it? And I don't mean train as in la, 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 la. I don't care about that. That's up to you guys. And I'll sing in a little bit just to please you. But it's or give you a migraine, one of the two. But let's think about where power comes from. So when I worked with Conor McGregor, for example, in MMA fighting, now picture this on social media, MMA fighter, opera singer, MMA fighter, Broadway actress, singing. They're exactly the same in our eyes.
Right.
And if somebody's upper back is too rounded over and their head is forward, then they start doing this and it becomes nasally and they think, well, my voice is changing. Maybe because you're stressing your chords so much based on their anatomical attachment alone.
Right.
And then you're not using your diaphragm,
Right.
which, that should be involved in 22,000 or more breaths per day. But can you imagine when you're really going, I got to hit this high note, and you see a singer go, and they raise up like this. I'm looking at it going, oh boy, this pitch or this kick or this note is going to be off. That north-south breathing versus an east-west breathing brings a different note, brings a different throw, brings a different punch in the MMA, which Conor McGregor found out, which I'll show you a little bit, his posture versus when we got him for the next fight, he was in a better position and he won the fight in 44 seconds.
Right.
Now, I'm not a big fan of violent sports and all that kind of stuff. I grew up with sisters and they calmed me down very early. Thank God for them. But it's the same thing. When you start thinking about what a singer has to do to feel their art, not just, I'm going to sing this song. One of my very good friends is Caroline Jones. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Caroline. She's a country singer, but trained traditional opera. I watched a song that she sang at her sister's wedding this weekend that was operatic. It was unbelievable, the range this young woman has. And she'll flat out tell you it's because she doesn't come to singing like this. She's an athlete that trained for singing, trained for the guitar, trained for the keyboard, trained for the piano, trained for the drums, whatever she happens to be playing at that time. So we don't view you any differently. If this is voice talk, I want you to think, what am I doing to make my voice coach's job easier? What am I doing to make my NFL quarterback's job easier? You're all the same to us.
Right. Yeah, very well said, I think. Absolutely.
We certainly agree. What differentiates Egoscue from, say, yoga or CrossFit or any type of fitness program that posture is very important to as well? And along that same line, maybe you can tie this in. I was visiting with a friend of mine who is a yoga teacher, and I have a yoga certification as well. And she's having some significant back issues, and she feels like a lot of it comes from hyperextension, some cross-lateral movement that was beyond what she should have done. And when you have a class of 30 people watching a yoga instructor, and maybe the yoga instructor is actually doing their own practice at the same time, they might miss some of that hypermobility that's crossing in places that they shouldn't. And I've opened up a whole can of things, but really, can you differentiate what's the difference as far as posture training?
Egoscue's job, whether it's physical therapy, chiropractic, yoga, Pilates, CrossFit, weightlifting, plyometrics, ballet, singing, you name it, put those all in a circle and then put Egoscue in the middle with an arrow going out to all of them. You do your Egoscue first, all of those get easier.
Awesome.
The dirty little secret about Egoscue is that we balance out your pelvis. That's our end goal. And that pelvis is the floor for the spine and the roof for the legs. And specifically, that muscle right there, your psoas,
Yeah.
is absolutely the on switch or the circuit breaker for all movement. I'll give you a little bit of the Eastern medicine side of that,
Yeah.
where your chakras are involved.
Mhm.
And then your diaphragm sits right on top of that at that T12 mark, right in the middle of your back. So the T12 section of your lower back or your upper back would be at the top of your lower back, and the bottom of your upper back comes together, and the diaphragm sits here, and the psoas sits here and runs the same lines as the arteries that come from the heart. So in order for us to help a CrossFit athlete get the most out of his or her run, bike, squat, whatever they happen to be doing, pull-ups or whatever, we have to get them into the right position. Otherwise, they're taking a body into that alignment, or sorry, into that sport, and they're going to suffer. So I'm going to show you a picture of a young man. And this is the same dude, of course, maybe 120 days apart. But imagine him going to CrossFit with the one body in gray shorts versus the one body in black shorts. The one in black has no injury. The one in gray is going to come out with injuries. Well, what's the difference between that and singing? Nothing.
Yeah.
One guy's fighting for the note. The other guy is the God-given note. You know what I mean? Like, it's just easy. I mean, if you guys remember back in the 80s, okay, you remember? We got to put up the rock and roll signs for the 80s. Sebastian Bach was a lead singer of Skid Row. Okay, an amazing voice this dude had. Like some of the ways he carried, or the lead singer of a band called Disturbed, who sang the new version of, what's Paul Simon's song? Is it the Sound of Silence? Or
The Sound of Silence? Yeah.
so the new version by Disturbed, just go listen to that from a singing standpoint. One of the greatest versions of a person who has such a range that's unbelievable. That's a person who is truly honed into their sport. Where they're going to go a little crazy down the road is, why am I not able to hit that note anymore? Why am I fighting so hard to get it? And then eventually we have problems up here. So our job is to get you to be able to throw that punch from the diaphragm and the psoas. So to answer your question with the longest answer known to man, the difference between yoga and Egoscue is absolutely nothing. Yoga's goal was to balance out the body and the spirit. What have we done in the US? We turned it into, let's shrink your ass and make you look good in Lululemon. That's a problem.
Right.
Like, let's just talk cats and, which I still don't understand the whole cat-cow thing. I just call them cats and dogs because last time I checked, cats and dogs live together. But if this were the cat position and then the dog position, where should the movement initiate when somebody's on their hands and knees and they're pushing their back to the ceiling, head down, and it should be a pelvic-driven movement. Everyone that I teach this to, including yoga instructors, drives from the lat, shoulder, pec, and the serratus up here in the upper body. And then they get off the toilet later on at night and they put their hands on their legs and they push up off their arm-driven movement. Everything is so arm-driven. We've lost that hip-driven ability. The downward dog, when you're up in that down dog position, I say to them, I'm going to give you 2 words. So let's say, Toni, I was teaching this to you. You're already an instructor. You're already an expert in this. I know just enough to be dangerous. Here's your head. Here's your arms. And I say, okay, here's 2 words. Are you going to push or pull back into this? What do you feel like you're doing with your upper body to pike your hips up? Oh, I feel like I'm pushing with my arms and shoulders. That's why I get yoga instructors with hypermobility in their mid back, and they get thoracic vertebrae disc herniations. How do you herniate a disc in your thoracic spine? It's shaped like this for a reason. Protection.
Very interesting. Really interesting.
And what she said, and I felt a lot of gratitude that I haven't had any troubles, and I pray it stays that way, is that she wishes she had developed more core strength. And I do CrossFit as well, so it's kind of getting both, so that you're not just completely flexible or just completely strong. You really need both. They complement each other, I think. And I'm curious what you feel about that as well.
Be careful. You're showing your age. You're actually saying that kids should play more than one sport growing up instead of specializing at the age of 13, because you're going to be an amazing little football player, baseball player, soccer player. When Jack Nicklaus would flat out tell you, I became the best in the world by putting the golf club down and picking up a football and throwing it.
That 13-year-old's going to be great until he tears his ACL because he's playing so much sports at 13, long before he should be. And then he's not going to have that career.
Well, let me change that to he's not playing enough sports.
Different sports. Yeah.
He's playing one thing and creating, even if they cut the movement in half, it would eventually push out to 3 or 4 years out before he hurts himself. Here's an elite level 14-year-old little soccer player. She's going to be one of the best in the city. Look at those knees. And look at the one versus the other.
It does not look healthy at all.
No, and they're gonna blame it on her being a female why she tears her ACL. Now, look, you guys were given the gift of menstruation, which I still don't understand why it's called menstruation. I mean, sooner or later we'll get to that, like menopause, or I get the man out of that. Come on, or maybe that's where the pain.
I never thought about that.
Well, that's maybe you guys get headaches and all that stuff, and maybe that's where the man part of that comes in, because that's what we're good for.
There are so many things I could say, and I'm just not gonna. I'm not taking the bait.
And you're probably
everybody's thinking it. Everybody's thinking it. So when you look at a young woman like that, and she probably just hit her menstrual cycle a year before that, her body is now in limbo. She's going through her second. So you watch a baby giraffe come out and it's like this, walking all over. Picture a baby doing the same thing. If we could get up on 2 legs right away, we'd be bending the knees until we got it going. She's going through that again when the hormones are released at 12, 13, 14. Let me rephrase that, because times have changed with food. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, these young ladies are going through it, and their body isn't anywhere near the developmental stage it should be.
Right.
But it's a perfectly developed system for childbirth down the road. I mean, that's whatever God you believe in gave you the ability, the art of childbirth, the sport of childbirth, because guys are just pussies. There's no way we could handle it. Sorry I had to say that word, but
no, I mean, you and Denise are kindred spirits. Just put it out there. Just shock pony.
We are just weak. If I had to give birth to a child, I think I would choose not to have it. So, and there, you think about what comes at the end. There's a massive golden light at the end called your child. It's amazing. But what your body has to go through is work. And it's, that's why, I have therapists, my Atlanta clinic and my Portland clinic and my Florida clinic are all run by 3 amazing women. And they said, we actually trained for the sport of childbirth, and their labors were so much lower than other people with 36 and 46-hour labors.
Wow. Well, okay. So I think we have to there's so many things we could unpack here, and this would be a more than one podcast. So just, if you can, Brian, tell us where you start at the beginning with someone who just maybe their posture's off a little bit, and you really want to align the body. You want to get them in alignment. What do you suggest someone does?
Okay, let's start with the evaluation. Here's the postural blueprint that we compare you to.
Right.
We didn't make it up. It's in all the physiology and rehab books since the beginning of time.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm on Twitter battles consistently with these physical therapists out there that just are too smart for their own good. These new DPTs coming out, the new DPTs coming out are fighting the idea that posture even has any relevance. When I find an old school PT above the age of 40, let's just call that old school, and they instantly get it. They're like, well, yeah, of course, your feet should be I mean, they might not, you don't have to be perfectly straight, but a little bit closer, better than this and better than one foot turned out. I mean, they at least get the idea of foundation. So when you're looking at this kind of stuff and you start thinking, where should we start? We compare you to this. So for example, I'll give you a before picture of a young woman who came to us with chronic pain and what I call got the bonus plan, because remember, I was raised by girls, so I'm basically a chick at heart. And I have more hair products than both of you. So here we go. It's this young woman came to see us on August 3rd. And we compare her posture to the postural blueprint. What would you say about that? Are her shoulders rounded?
Yes.
Are her knees kind of collapsed in on one side versus the other? Like look at the left leg versus the right.
Right.
Does the pelvis look a little elevated?
Mm-hmm.
It's off. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Good. Here she is 3 months later. And tell me what the difference is. Let's start with her legs. Not a huge difference in her valgus stress on that one foot that's kind of pulled out to the side. This her right leg being out to the side on the lower leg. It hasn't changed all that much. But look at her shoulder position.
Yeah.
It's much
What's
less.
different? What's different about her hips?
Well, her hips are more tucked forward rather than pulled back and up.
Can we just stop BSing each other?
Sure.
What's the difference in this young girl's hips? Now let's think like young women today. Which one looks better?
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, she probably thinks the one on the left in the gray sweats looks better and looks more like Kim Kardashian. Sure.
She was blown away at how much smaller she was in the black. And I said, why do you think that is? And you know, therapist, and her discussion was, I came here for back pain, but why do I look so much thinner?
Right.
I call
Just
that
the upper back alone.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where the lymphatic discussion comes into play.
Mm.
That's where your sewage system needs to drain upward. That's where your ankle heel to toe rocker mechanism, your knee bend to straightening, the rotation in your hip joint, the rotation in your shoulders, all that helps with moving your sewage system.
Wow.
And whether you work out or not, you're creating byproducts, and those byproducts are part of that sewage. You got to be able to move it, or we sit down all day during COVID. We then get on our Peloton during COVID, and my posture hasn't changed at all. And we wonder why our butt's getting wider instead of thinner.
Right.
And I'm sorry, but the magazines just, I'm not even a girl and they piss me off.
Right.
You should work out harder, ladies, and eat less.
Yeah.
If you truly want to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
Right.
Morons.
Right.
Not the ladies, the people writing the article. Let's just be
Yeah,
clear about that.
Sure.
I don't want a hashtag by 4 o'clock. So
ah.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah. So, okay. So if I came to you and was like, when I come to your people, the first thing they'll have me do is put on something that they can see my body in, right? And they'll take pictures, I'm assuming at the backside, both sides and front, and make
comfortably standing barefoot,
right?
Because we'll all try to pull our shoulder blades back, but just get comfortable. And then we go from there.
And then somebody makes an assessment and prescribes some exercises or
Yes.
works with me on a Zoom and says, do this, do that. How does it?
Specific exercises that we believe, well, we have an artificial intelligence system in the computer. We plug it in. We call it ePete for Pete Egoscue. It's an electronic version of his thought process and stuff that he's developed over the years. The cool part of this is when you do get your picture taken, the judgment is non-existent from us.
Right.
From you, you're going to look at it and go, like this young girl would go, oh God, okay. I get that. We all judge ourselves. We all wake up in the morning. That's why I'm a big fan of standing in front of the mirror. You wear whatever you want, the least amount of clothing, or go nude, look in front of the mirror and say, I approve, until you believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another whole podcast we could have.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where we look at this and say, oh, great. So if I showed you a posture that was so deviant of this, meaning the knee was turned in, hip was elevated, shoulders down, heads up here like this, is there something wrong with that posture?
Of course.
Or is your posture exactly where it should be, especially my shoulder up here, my neck over here? I'm all crooked, but it's like that because possibly down the chain at the source is so far off that up here is just compensating and adapting.
Yeah.
So when you take the judgment away and you just say, well, that's an interesting posture, don't judge it. I wonder if we can affect that and get it back to a better blueprint where there's no consequence of pain.
Mm-hmm.
But if you judge it, then you're always going to see wrong versus what's the body trying to tell us.
Right.
And all it is, pain is a signal. Postural dysfunction is a signal.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to get yourself and your ego out of the way in order to be able to see that and hear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow.
So when someone wants their first initial consultation, do they pay for one consultation? Is it a commit? Tell our listeners and Denise how this financial process works.
How many people do you think are going to see this?
Thousands.
Yes. Yeah. No.
Hundreds of thousands. But let's just say, if we had to guess,
We have 1,000 followers in our social media, and we it really depends on the person who's our guest. It could be,
and you're going to get smart on your social media, and you're going to post this using the right hashtag. So it's going to be seen could be seen by tens of thousands of people, because how many people are doing podcasts and stuff on how to improve your singing? There's a way that we're going to help push this. The reason I ask is that I want to hear from all of them. If they DM me on social media, I answer all my social media, or I pass it on to someone once I have an initial discussion to say, let my team take a look.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's amazing.
I'll at least point you to the pain-free book and say, you're not really committed. Go get that and read the first 3 chapters and come back to me when you're serious. And that's not a judgment. It's don't waste your money giving it to me when you're not going to commit to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
we have
tune in and ask, and he'll connect. That's great.
Exactly. One of my DMs that came across this morning, I did a podcast on autism a couple weeks ago, and I got I'll go to it later, a DM from a mother because we titled it The Sport of Autism. And they're, wait, you can't make fun of autism like that. Oh, yeah, I can. Because if you don't know someone with it, or related to somebody with it, or raising your own kid that is, you realize that if you don't treat it like a sport, then eventually you will break down. And when the caregiver gives way, then this just becomes more of a tornado over here. So it was who's taking care of you. And that was refreshing to her because it was every ounce of her energy is going over here.
Sure.
In fact, there was a movie that I would recommend you guys see. It's a documentary called Far From the Tree.
Far what?
Far from the tree.
Far from the tree.
Get a box of tissues. When the mother of the autistic son said, paraphrasing, I don't like my child anymore. I'm starting to resent him. And then she went into why, because he was so much bigger and he was hitting her a little bit. And then she had her revelation of that, and that emotional breakdown. It was unbelievable. And then out of that confusion and out of that desperation, the answer came, which was unbelievable. Especially what the kid said, in the way that the practitioner who came in found a way to communicate with him, in the way that he communicated and what he projected to his mother and father. You won't have enough tissue around.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. So I'm in the middle of an airplane flying to Australia when I saw that. And I'm not kidding, guys. I was like a 2-year-old that just had the worst case of butt rash and all of his candy taken away from him. I was like this, people are like, are you okay, sir? And I'm like, yes, you got to see this movie. But it was unbelievable, the results that were coming with that. But again, mom had to move herself out of the way, because whose fault is it that he has autism?
Nobody's.
Oh, you girls are so nice. It's mom's fault in her head.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, sure.
In her
Sure,
head,
sure, sure.
what did I do
Yeah,
to
sure.
cause this? Is there something that I'm telling you, it sits in there and sits in there and
Oh,
sits
yeah.
in there?
Oh, I'm sure it would, but I mean,
Absolutely.
I think she should be
Absolutely.
doing it. Yeah,
No, ladies, we get it. But again, three outsiders,
Mhm.
right.
we
We don't-
see it from a different view.
Sure.
I have not had, I can't remember one scoliosis customer who brought their little girl in that was the father.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
It was the mother.
Yeah, sure.
Does she feel so guilty?
No,
Well,
because that's what moms do.
who loved that child longer?
That's what moms do. Mom.
Well, she was inside mom longer. I mean, she carried her around.
You had a 9-month head start before I started loving that kid.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I can picture the kid, but I can't feel that kid. Right. So I joke about it and go, you had a 9-month head start. Good luck. How am I ever going to love my kid? You know, but it's true. But that's why the mom would take it and say, what did I do?
Yeah, sure.
And dads, being morons the way we are, we go to, I'll fix it. I'll throw money at it. Let's get this done. You know, so you have to realize there's two different ways. Neither one of them are wrong. It's the Mars and Venus discussion.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay.
So hold on. You asked me about exercises too. Is this going to be auditory or just visible or both?
Yes.
So if you
Oh.
want to demonstrate something, go for it.
Yeah, I need people to actually, well, you two are going to be demonstrating if you don't mind.
Okay.
But you are wearing pants, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is Zoom and COVID. People don't wear pants anymore, you know, doing that stuff. So
I
let's
do
get
have
you.
on yoga pants, but
That's okay. In fact, that's what everybody's wearing to their office now are yoga
No,
pants.
I
Like,
just got home from work, so I'm in real pants
so I need you guys to
and
stand
heels.
up in your.
So I'm going to
stand-
take off
yeah,
my heels.
Take those 6-inch stilettos off and stand up in the room. I want you guys to get barefoot and just stand behind your chair and I'll walk you through this.
Okay.
And this goes for everybody watching and listening. Let's get up and try this because I don't expect you to believe in this method until you feel it to a certain point.
Okay. I got to let my dog out the room too. She's having. Yep. All right.
I don't mind. Dogs are great.
Go. Go.
Okay. So standing there with your eyes closed.
Standing. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, standing with your eyes closed. Just let your arms hang. And I want you to feel where your body weight is from left to right. Are you carrying more weight in one side of the body versus the other? And having said that, where's the body weight from front to back in each foot? Do you have more weight in the heel of one foot versus the ball of the other? Are they even? Are they both in the heels? Are they both in the balls of feet? Is one more in the ball or heel of the other? I want you to feel this difference. Get in touch with that. And now let me have you turn sideways to the camera. We're going to check something here. And I want you to very slowly, as long as your listeners, if you guys have like serious back pain, don't do this because I know it's going to hurt you. Just relax. You can do it next time you start feeling better. Just bend over as far as your body can go. Don't bend your knees. What did it feel like and how far can you go? Try not to bend your knees.
Oh, they were bent to start, bent a little bit to stand. Oh, you mean lock them to stand to start?
Not like hard lock them, but don't bend them.
Don't bend them at all. Okay.
So Denise, where are your hands touching your shin?
About 3 inches above my ankle.
Okay, how about you, Toni? Are you at the floor?
Yeah, she's the.
Okay, come back up. Oh, no, you're exactly right. We would say that's because of yoga, okay? Because she does more yoga or whatever.
Right.
So those of you that were listening, along with Denise and Toni, what I'm looking for is, are you bending over from the pelvis hinging down at the hip joint like this? Or has your pelvis stopped and your back done all the hanging?
That's a good question.
I feel like it's all hips.
Okay, come back up. Now let's go through one more exercise. Face the camera. And let's have you turn your feet dead straight, which is about 5 degrees slightly turned in, and fist width apart at the big toes.
Mm-hmm.
Now in that position, I want you to squeeze and release your butt muscles. So put your hands back on your butt, and I want you to squeeze and release your butt muscles 5 times and see if they're firing the same on each side. Can you do it without tightening your quads? Can you do it without tightening up your abs? Now turn your feet out 45 degrees. And now try it again there. Is that easier?
Yeah.
So a lot of times people will try to find a more efficient glute firing as they turn their feet out, searching for some kind of efficiency. But the problem is that deviates from this design.
Right.
And the eventual occurrence that happens is they have some chronic pain tied to it. So remember, you have your balance tested, okay? You have your hanging tested, okay? And now you have your butt contraction tested. That's 3 tests. Why are you ladies sitting down?
Oh,
We
I can still
retest.
stand. I just thought we were done.
That's like going to the dentist and him saying you have cavities and then not treating it.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so back up a little bit.
your
Let's do
magic.
one more test, and this one will be more for mind and heart. So close your eyes. And I really want you to feel this one. Like, go to the worst case scenario emotionally that's ever happened to you, negative situation that's happened to you in your life.
Ooh.
Close your eyes, feel it, let it grab a hold of you, feel it, and then give it a color. Okay, good. Now, get your feet pointed straight ahead, fist width apart, which means slightly 5 degrees turned in. Now I want you to take your hands and do this. I want you to make a fist with your thumb wrapped around it just like this. And I'm going to tell you, if this is a fist, this is the hardest fist I've ever squeezed in my life. So you're going from the golfer's grip. I want you to go all the way into a fist, like you're going to punch something. Okay? No, not me. What are you doing, Denise? Stop the violence. Okay. So now, so check your foot position because you both moved.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Now put your arms down to your side, but keep the fist. Let your arms hang. Take your shoulders and up and down a couple of times, just relax them. Now, when I say pull your shoulders back, I don't want you throwing your rib cage out. I want you to glide your shoulder blades together behind you and try to pinch those little shoulder blades together. Now hold that with the tight fist and bring your arms out to 90 degrees like this. And now with your shoulder blades pinned together, I want you to circle your arms forward 40 times, just like that. Good, perfect. Keep that little index and, pinky finger and ring finger squeezed in there. Keep the pinky finger squeezed in just as hard as the index finger. Tell me when you get to 40.
I did.
Okay, drop your arms when you get to 40. Now take your hands and do this. Now watch the whites of my hands. I'm going to go like that. And I'm going to spread my fingers and extend my mid hand like this. Put your hands down to your side in that position. Keep those hands spread out. Slide your shoulder blades together. Bring your arms up to 90 and then turn your palms up. Keep those hands spread, thumbs back. Now circle up and back 40 times. Keep those fingers spread. Good. Work on it. Trying to get that little pinky finger to spread out and the thumb to spread out. Like you really want them to be as far apart from each other as possible. Denise, how we doing?
I'm at 40. There you go.
Okay, good. Take your hands like this and put them right here against your temples. Now close them and then open them. Keep those fingers spread out and touch those elbows together. 20 times, go. Try to touch them behind you too. Because you got to, whatever opens has to close. Go all the way open, then all the way closed. Come on, spread those fingers out. Get those elbows to touch, Toni.
Am I supposed to be rocking my butt like that?
No, but it no, but it may happen naturally.
Right. I noticed yeah.
Get your feet straight though, because you just moved. Okay, now interlace your fingers together. Push your palms away. Take it straight up over your head. Look up at your hands. Drop your shoulders from your ears. So drop it down, but keep your elbows straight. And you got that for 30 seconds. Look straight up. Keep your feet straight, elbows straight. For those of you with shoulder symptoms, you don't have to get your arms right above your head. If this was bothering your shoulder, then you can start out here where your hands are in a comfortable position out above your stomach area instead of above your head. 15 seconds. Five, four, three. Good. Take a break. Now shake out your arms, shake out your legs. You did 3 exercises. Now close your eyes. And where's your body weight from front to back and left to right? What's different?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Okay, so open up your eyes for a second. Can we assume, because your balance is better, that maybe the second, third, and fourth tests are going to be different? Because now you're taking a balanced body into those tests. So go ahead and bend over and tell me what that feels and what's it like compared to before. Come back up. What did you feel, Denise?
Well, probably not as much stiffness because I'm really stiff in that lower part of my back. So, not as much stiffness, and definitely the need to bend my knees was not as great.
Okay, so someone who has chronic pain, small changes like that are massive gains.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now I want you to turn your feet back to straight again. And I want you to squeeze and release your butt muscles this time with your feet straight and tell me what the difference is compared to before.
It's easier not to engage the thighs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does it? Remember how you had it like this and then you turned your feet out? Not out here. It was like, wow, it's so much stronger out here. I want, when your feet are straight, I want it to feel like your feet were turned out with that same type of feeling.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, before when we engaged our butt muscle, my abs got really involved. My lower abs got really involved. But now they're not nearly as apt to fire. They're more passive.
So you're able to isolate the glute now, which is kind of what people should be doing when they go to CrossFit, when they go to the gym, when they go to golf. Your body should be able to isolate stuff rather than saying, I'm gonna do a bicep curl and my trap's firing like this.
Sure.
Okay, so close your eyes.
Uh-huh.
And I want you to go back to that negative feeling, that negative situation that happened in your life. And I want you to feel it. Let it get a hold of you. Like really feel it. Understand it. And then I want you to give it a color. And I dare you to make it the same color that it was before.
Interesting.
Still the same negative situation.
Yeah.
But is it safe to say that it didn't have as much of an emotional hold on you?
Yeah.
And the color changed.
Absolutely.
From what?
Mine went from black to maybe like an army green.
Okay. Toni?
Black, but I didn't really have a color the second time because I couldn't quite get there. I couldn't even pull anything up.
That's even better.
And when I went to do The first one went down. The first time I just touched, and the second time my hands were just, completely flat. It was just really easy.
So think about all of these things. Let's use the word flexibility. Did we do anything to stretch your legs or your lower back?
Mm-mm.
But let's use flexibility as a metaphor for, are you open-minded? Are you present?
Mm-hmm.
Your flexibility increased because your body became so much more functional, so that your movement improved, your balance improved, and then your body could get out of here and into here. And that's where a singer should be coming from.
Absolutely.
Like, you cannot, I've had, one of my worst dreams in my life. Of course, I was the judge in Tom Sawyer in a musical back in high school. So, Hannibal, Missouri. Okay, good. You don't want to hear me sing it with the top hat and all that stuff. My worst scenario is my other calling in life, which should have been probably on Broadway or TV doing something, where I forgot the freaking words.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm in my head versus going, no, you know it.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not present. You're not there. So instead of saying memorize it, it's no, learn it, live it, experience it.
Mm.
And, that's why, like when I'm working with like a Tony Robbins group, we had 830,000 people in January on an event. We had 20,000 last month. I'm going to do another one here, Business Mastery, which will have about 3,000 in July. I don't script any of this stuff because I'm going to read the audience on the virtual screen, and I already know the material I'm going to give them, even if I can't see them. I can't see your listeners, but I already know they're going like this. Holy wow, this made sense. Oh my gosh, this made sense. Yeah, they're writing stuff down. I get it. And the ones that aren't, they're not getting it yet. But in a year or two, and they run into someone somewhere, somehow, and they're like, wait a minute, this is okay. Now I get it. You got to have yourself in the right mindset to absorb or understand that I won't use the word responsibility. It's not like you have a responsibility to yourself. Responsibility is just another thing on your plate when your plate's already full. You need to become a little selfish. Take care of you. Because if you don't, nobody else will.
Right.
And especially coming out of COVID-19, there's 3 pandemics. COVID-19 virus pandemic, number 1. Number 2, lack of movement, 90% less steps per day than before COVID. And number 3, the mental emotional PTSD that comes with this. Mm-hmm. And if you're stuck with a lack of motion, mm-hmm. then the PTSD is going to take over.
Sure. Yep. Wow. Great. I think our listeners will be bowled over.
Yeah, that was
we
awesome.
may have to have a part 2.
Whatever you guys do whatever you want. We can easily do something like that. But I want to show you and I know you'll post, whatever my Instagram and stuff like that is, but these are the kind of things that I try to put on there, right? So here's my Instagram.
Yeah, I follow your Instagram.
But this one, for example, the stuff that we did I had just come back from that trip, and okay. And as soon as this loads, I'll be happy. My God, Jarek Robbins. Okay, Jarek Robbins. Sorry, these texts are now coming through that I took it off Do Not Disturb. But this is what we talked about with Bulletproof.
Yeah.
I have nothing to do with them other than they're an amazing way to get me to actually read a book. Right. From there to, the calmness of walking your dog on the beach and taking time for yourself to do that.
Is that your little Frenchie? Yeah.
Yes, yeah. To getting ready to kick Master Ko's butt, and training with ping pong. Mm-hmm. Why is this good for the brain?
Right.
To be able to do that kind of stuff. So there's all kinds of stuff on there. You'll find something that's worthwhile. Egoscue, I'm linked right to the Egoscue method page too. But again, you guys can DM me there. You guys can put my email up here. considering you don't have 100,000 followers yet, I wouldn't be giving out my email or else I'd be in trouble. But yeah, with 1,000, we're good.
Okay. Yeah, we
Thank
will
you.
definitely put all that out there. And thank you so much. This was really, really fantastic, very enlightening, and such good, really good food for thought for our singers, especially I think our young singers who, let mental and mindset get in their way. And Toni and I are huge into mindset, so it's great.
Well, they do. And they absolutely are, because they're part of this younger group of people that doesn't know failure or doesn't expect to be able to do failure. For example, my son's a D1 soccer player, but I've always brought him up that there are no second place trophies. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, I wanted the kid to feel good about himself, but that's my job, not a trophy's job.
Right.
He also understood that it's, you work hard, you work smart, and it will pay off.
Mm-hmm.
And if it didn't, then don't whine about it till you get your way. Just try to find a way around this, but it's a different generation now. And the reason I changed glasses is because we're close to 4 p.m. and that's my time to go over to the yellow lenses. And then I'll go for your listeners, I'll go to the red lenses later, which are, that's Devo 1975.
Yeah,
right?
it really is right there. Yeah.
So the reason I do this is that even just small hacks, like my eyes are absorbing the white light from the ring light from you guys and whatever else. We're not outside. This is a different type of radiation we're in front of. That's why at night, if I'm looking at something 10, 11 o'clock at night, I'll absolutely have the red glasses on.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
too.
Oh yeah. We're believers in that. So.
Well, there's a lot of people that don't. They don't even know about it.
Yeah. No, my whole family, we all wear blue blocking glasses. Okay. Thank you so much, Brian. And we will hope that our people will be in touch, but I will be in touch with you later.
Ladies, it has been an absolute pleasure. And it's okay to be selfish. Take care of you.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. Thank
Great.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. We are very grateful that you joined us today. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, write a review, share it with a friend.